What is going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of 2026 Alabama Governor's Election Talk. See, I got my Alabama flag here. I'm going to try to keep this episode pretty short. This is just going to be about one topic and one topic only. A vote for Tommy Tuberville in the May 19th Republican primary is a vote for Doug Jones to be your next governor. I'm just going to say it, okay? Because a lot's developed between my last episode and this one, okay? The Tommy Tuberville residency saga has heated up. More evidence has come out, and there's been multiple challenges, okay? Let's look at some of that evidence first. Get that out of the way so people know exactly what is being discussed here, okay? What I'm going to do first is I'm going to share my screen to this Facebook post. And this is going to show you a Carfax report. All right, can you see that? I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Can I not? Okay. So this shows you Tommy Tuberville's Carfax report on his truck and where he got it serviced. Okay. Matter of fact, we'll come back here. This is the first page of it. Yeah. This is the first page. All right. That really doesn't tell you much of anything. And you can see that, yeah, in 2024. Now, it's interesting. On this page right here, this is 2023. You can see August 8th. I guess that's the day he bought it, maybe? August 28th, 29th. I don't know. Maybe that's around the time he bought it. But if you go to 2024, okay, there's a report up here that you can see. I'm circling with the mouse, but we're going to start with this one right here since we can see the date. February 3rd of 2024. Vehicle serviced in Destin, Florida. April 15th, Destin, Florida. Okay. October 23rd, Destin, Florida. And then November 14th, registration issued or renewed. But then look at this one. March 16th of 2025, the year Tommy Tuberville decided to run for governor. Auburn, Alabama. Does it show? Yeah, up here, September 6th, Auburn, Alabama. Okay? So that's the first thing, okay, is that Carfax report. We can also take a look at this right here. This isn't necessarily proof, but it's something that can open your eyes, okay? This is a house that's not the exact house that Tommy Tuberville lives in. I could pull up the house on Cherry Street in Auburn, Alabama, and I'm saying the street name because it's out there, that Tuberville's wife and son, their names are on the deed of. Tuberville's is not, but his wife and son is on the deed of a house similar to this one in Auburn. All right. But I'm not going to do that. But you can read this comment right here. Yeah, I think you can see it. Does this look like the house of an ex-SEC coach and U.S. Senator? Online, his net worth is $16 million. This is close to where Tuberville says he has lived for the last 7 years. How stupid does Tuberville and the Alabama GOP think we, the people of Alabama, are? Yeah, a former SEC football coach and his wife, family. This is not going to be their full-time residence. They can do a lot better than that. Again, I don't think they should be able to do better than that. I don't think they should. But that's the way it is. He's got a lot more money than that. So, hence why his primary residence is a mansion in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. And you can go online, you can find a clip that Tuberville had recorded for ESPN. And you may have seen it already if you've been following the race a little bit. Basically saying, I hung up my whistle and I moved to Santa Rosa Beach, Florida with the, white sands and blue waters. What a great place to live. And he's standing kind of on the outside of his big house on the beach in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. That's not in Alabama. Of course, it's understandable if you have the option to live there or to live in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in Auburn. An SEC football coach's wife is not going to be sharing a bathroom, by the way. But if you had the option to choose between one of those two places, obviously you're going to pick the mansion. That's understandable. Nobody's faulting him for that, but you can't run for governor with that being your governor of Alabama with your primary residence being in Florida. You can't. Your primary domicile residence has to be in Alabama for 7 years immediately prior to the election. This year, the election is on my birthday, November 3rd, 2026. Meaning, Tuberville's primary domicile and residence would have had to have been the state of Alabama continuously starting no later than November 3rd of 2019. You already saw the Carfax report. It showed in 2024 all his services being done in Destin, Florida. Let's look at this. Okay. This is the expense report of Tommy Tuberville's flights as a U.S. Senator, given to the Secretary of the Senate, because senators, congressmen, they get reimbursed for their travel, okay? You will look and see that, and at one point I said all the flights. I was mistaken. But most of them. There are some. But the majority of these flights, leading until you get to 2025, they do not start or end. They do not take off or land in the state of Alabama. It's either Washington, D.C. or somewhere in Florida. So, let's see. Let me see if I can show you a little bit here. Okay. You sit down. You can see, let's take a look. D.C., D.C., D.C. Let's see here. You can see that one right there. Panama City, Destin, Fort Walton Beach, D.C. Why does he need to go to Florida if he's a senator from the state of Alabama? You can see one right there, Fort Walton Beach. This one has some Alabama and Florida stops in it. Panama City. All right. And there are several pages of this. It's hard for me to show all of them on here. But you can probably find them. But here, I'll kind of try to show them to where you can pause the screen if you want to look at them. Hopefully you can see that well. It kind of goes on that way. Here's some more. It goes on that way. But when you get to 2025, notice a whole lot more Alabama stops and starts. And again, if you couldn't see that well, you could probably find them online, or if you want to let me know if you want me to send you some better pictures of this, I can probably do that. Okay. I want you to have as much information as you can. So, I mean, I think that speaks for itself too. So, what does all this mean? Okay, you see that the house discrepancy doesn't make any sense. Why would he live in a small place in Auburn when he has a beachside mansion to his name? And he claims homestead exemption on the home in Auburn. His name's not even on the deed of it, so it doesn't matter. And then the Carfax report showing in 2024 office truck services being in Destin, flight log showing up until 2025 as a member of the U.S. Senate, his flights mainly going into Florida. In fact, I did some math on the back of this. Yeah. From 2021 to 2024, there are 14 logs taking off or landing in Alabama out of 109. Out of 109 logs from 2021 and 2024, 14 of them start or finish in Alabama. That's 13% of those. And he claims to be representing Alabama. 2025, out of 30 logs in 2025, 18 of them take off or land in Alabama. So the number goes up to 60%. You could tell, oh, I'm getting ready to run for governor. I got to make it look like I'm a citizen of Alabama. You can tell he's trying to brown nose. And hopefully it will not work on the people of Alabama. I hope that we're smarter than that. But again, what does all this mean? Well, it means that he didn't live here, and he's violating the Alabama state constitution. Hence why Kim McPheeters, Republican candidate for governor, who's opposing Tommy Tuberville, in late January, after qualifying, filed a ballot challenge against Tommy Tuberville to the Alabama Republican Party. And the Alabama Republican Party, don't get this wrong, the Alabama Republican Party did not determine that Tuberville was eligible. That is not what happened. The Alabama Republican Party refused to look at the case. They didn't dismiss it either. They didn't dismiss it. They didn't look at it. McPheeters' plan was, I'm going to submit the challenge, I'm going to get a hearing, and I'm going to present my evidence. It is optional to attach evidence to your ballot challenge. Ken did not do that. It was on that basis the party decided not to look at it. Even though evidence was optional, and he was going to wait till the hearing because he didn't want to tip his hand. But the party so badly wants Tuberville to be anointed governor because Donald Trump said so, that they didn't even look at the ballot challenge. And after that, a lot of people in the state thought, well, that does it. Tuberville cleared his challenge. He's good. No. It is not over. Because on Tuesday of last week, March 24th, this was filed. A lawsuit against Tommy Tuberville and the Alabama Republican Party by Kim McPheeters in the Circuit Court of Covington, Alabama. This was filed in Covington County because Ken knows people down there in Covington County know Tuberville doesn't live here. So he thinks he'll get a fair trial there. Right? And I'm not going to show all of this. A lot of it's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. But it's out there if you want to look at it. All right. So things could go one of two ways. This is the big point of this video. If Covington County does what they're supposed to do and they look at this case and they make the ruling that all the evidence points to is the right one, that Tuberville does not live here. Now, if Tuberville's able to prove that he does live here, if he's able to release tax returns, utility bills, credit card statements, a number of things, that prove he lives here, okay, fine. We can let it all go. But you thought he would have done it by now to clear all this up, and he hasn't. Red flag. If Covington County rules that, Tuberville doesn't live here, then either they could require the Alabama Republican Party to drop Tuberville from the ballot, and I don't know if Tuberville's or the GOP's camp would appeal or not. I don't know. Tuberville may decide he'll just go fishing, as he told CNN. Or they could put enough pressure on Tuberville during the suit, and he's just saying, you know what, fine, I'll just get out of the race. And that's what Ken's sort of thinking. They're saying Tuberville's going to have to step down. He's either got to prove or step down, and he doesn't have to prove. If he did, he'd have shown it by now. And the Carfax report, the flight logs, no common sense with his housing choice. They all prove he doesn't live here. He doesn't live in Alabama. Tommy Tuberville does not meet the Alabama state constitutional requirements for domicile residents in the state of Alabama to run for and become the governor of Alabama. Period. He doesn't. And then if ultimately Tuberville is removed from the ticket, Kim McPheeters would become the front runner for the Republican nomination. It would be only him and Will Santovesi, I believe is how you pronounce it. They would be in the race, and I think Kim would win that, and the Democrats' plan would be foiled because their plan is for Tuberville to win the nomination. And then it'd be a lot easier for Ken to become our next governor. And I'm not going to talk much about Ken's policies here. That's not what the video is about. All right. He talks a lot about food independence, taking back our education, rethinking medicine. He truly is a man for the people because unlike Tommy Tuberville and Doug Jones, who owe a lot of people favors because they're getting a lot of donations, but it also means they're working for those people who paid them all that money. Ken doesn't have all those donations, and so he's working for you, the people, and not the people giving him millions of dollars to run. If Tuberville wins the primary, if this lawsuit doesn't do anything and Tuberville wins the primary, this is why a vote for Tuberville in the primary is a vote for Doug Jones in November. That's why you might as well be doing that. If you're going around wearing the Coach for Tuberville hats and Coach Tuberville shirts, at this point, you're basically telling me I want Doug Jones to be our next governor. Because it will not be Tommy Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville will not be our next governor. Period. Doug Jones's camp, they haven't said this publicly. It wouldn't be smart for them to. But Ken told me that privately, one of Doug Jones's lawyers called him and said, if Tuberville wins the primary, we're suing the next day. That case will have more time and more money and more connections to be filed, heard, and ruled on. Now, there's still the question of will there be enough time? 6 months between May and November. But there'll be more time than there is for this suit right here between here and late March and mid to late May. If things go well in that lawsuit that falls after the primary, when everybody's already thinking, okay, Doug Jones versus Tommy Tuberville, that's going to be the election. No, it won't. Doug Jones's camp will win that case. If Kim McPheeters does not win this one, Doug Jones will win that one. And then Tuberville will have to come off the ballot. He will have to step down, or the GOP will have to take him off. And it could go one of two ways from that point. I heard at one point that then the Alabama GOP would be able to pick a replacement, which would be corrupt enough as it is, because the Alabama GOP didn't even want to hear the ballot challenge of Tuberville not being eligible. But then when that blows up in their face, they get to pick the replacement? No, I don't think so. But what I'm hearing more recently now is that that wouldn't even happen. That by the time the case would be ruled upon and Tuberville would be removed from the ballot, it would be too late for the Alabama GOP to pick a replacement. And therefore, in deep red Alabama, possibly the reddest state in the entire country, you would have Doug Jones, who would likely win the Democrat primary. I don't want to disrespect Will Boyd, Chad Chick Martin, Jamel Brown, Yolanda Flowers, Nate Mathis, any of them. All right? There's some good candidates on that side too. I'm just speaking because Doug Jones is the most likely. Okay? But you would have Doug Jones, a progressive leftist Democrat, running unopposed in the deep red state of Alabama. The Republicans would not have a nominee on the ballot. And for the gubernatorial general election in November, in deep red Alabama, a Democrat would be running unopposed, and Doug Jones will be our next governor. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? It's not what I want. A vote for Tommy Tuberville in May is a vote for Doug Jones in November. If you do not want, listen to me, Alabama. If you do not want Doug Jones, get off the Tuberville train. He will not be our next governor. The evidence is overwhelming, and either this lawsuit or Doug Jones' lawsuit will win. For the Republicans, it's better if this one wins, because then you'll at least have Kim McPheeters. And if you don't know a whole lot about Kim McPheeters, that's fine. But you can't say he's a weak candidate if you don't know anything about him. So don't even try to give me that. Research his policies. I like him. I've met him a couple of times on Valentine's Day at the Mid-Alabama Republican Club. He was speaking. And then I was there at the press conference in Montgomery last week when he announced the lawsuit. And I was passing out copies of the flight logs and lawsuit to media members. All right. So this video went longer than I anticipated it, but I want you to have all the information. Okay. Alabama, this is what we're faced with. A vote for Tommy Tuberville is a vote for Doug Jones. We deserve better than that. Thank you very much.